This is the Northwest Ankline Super Bowl show coming to you from Radio Row, New Orleans Convention Center, site of Super Bowl 59. New Orleans, that is, not the Convention Center. Pitting the Philadelphia Eagles against the Kansas City Chiefs. And joining us next is one of our fellow Canadians down here at Radio Row. You know him as, well, the man on the sports grid. Gabe Morency stopping by. Gabe, nice to have you aboard again, man.
Hey, good to see you. Good to see you. It's always fun throwing it down with you every year here on Super Bowl Media Row.
I know you don't do Canadian radio, like your agent refuses to do Canadian radio, but, you know, we talked to your agent. He says, okay, we'll squeeze you in between McAfee and, you know, you can do.
I appreciate that.
McAfee, right?
I appreciate it. You know what? That's not really true. I don't get invited on Canadian radio.
Hey, you got an invite. We got you here.
Yeah.
Hey, seriously, like, all kidding aside, how do you and McAfee go back? Like, where's the connection there? Because you go on McAfee's show every time we're down here at Radio Row. Like, I mean,
we've had a new Super Bowl tradition, actually, since he's been on Media Row at the Super Bowls. I've been the last guest of the program for, 3-4 years running right now. We're the last guest at the end of the week, and it's sort of become a running tradition. I've known him. He was on the same network. He was on Sports Grid.
Okay.
So years ago, when he started his show, and he was on YouTube, he was on Sirius, but he was on a lot of different platforms, but Sports Grid was one of them. And also, I hit it off with all of his crew.
Okay.
Which some of them, there's one of them from BC as well.
Okay.
So I hit it off with their crew, and they came on our show. I went on their show. And I don't think Pat even thought it was going to blow up the way that it's blown up right now. It's amazing how big the show has gotten. It's even gotten bigger on ESPN as well. So I've gone back with them now about 5 years since he started the show.
Do you know it's crazy? And you tweeted this last year. You're on set, and as you mentioned, the last guest of the week, and it's you, McAfee, and Dan Patrick.
Yeah, that was something special. That was like, you know what? I got goosebumps now because I'm a big Dan Patrick fan, obviously. And for me to be there at that moment, it's always mind-blowing. That's the one really cool thing about going on the show on Media Row with Pat is the people that you meet before you go on. Like a good example is
like in the green room.
Yeah, like Gene Steratore, who I've been really critical of over the years. Like effing Steratore, this and that. There I am sitting next to him, going on the show with him. I'm like, man, this is a really nice guy.
Well, do you know the
Terry Henry last year, I'm just sitting there casually. And I'm like the only one that kind of even knew who he was. Like, Terry, a soccer guy, comes in, a couple people looking at him. I'm like, I can't freaking believe I'm just casually sitting here next to Terry Henry, and no one's really even talking to him. He's just kind of sitting there by himself on his phone. But from, Jerry Jeudy, met a couple of years ago, cool dude, hooked up with Jerry Jeudy. Brett Michaels, a Poison.
Yep.
I've been spoiled, but last year, super cool that Dan Patrick just wandered onto the set. And that was the first time that Dan Patrick had been on ESPN Radio ever, right, since he left. So it was a special moment. And then we had Dan Patrick dropping F-bombs, which never something I never thought I would hear.
The funny thing was with we had Hawk and McAfee the first year they were at Radio Row.
Oh, yeah.
And they were like, they came, remember we brought him that Lions jersey, like the McAfee BC Lions jersey? Last year, a little different. He was a little, a lot more obligations, a lot more things that he had to go run to, still, kind of appreciative, talk to him and all that, but just schedule was busy. But the funny thing is, you talk about McAfee. Last year he had The Rock, Dwayne Johnson on.
Oh, yeah.
And we were kind of thinking, you know what, Rock and Wally Ball, of course, CFL legend, he admires Wally so much because Wally basically was the guy that told him, hey, you're not going to be a football player, you're going to be... You should be a wrestler, and he's forever grateful. So after we finished McAfee, we started walking down, and we just kind of, hey, Rock, you want to wish Wally? And the next thing you know, we got about, a minute and a half conversation with The Rock.
That's one thing you see here, though, that how difficult and how big time a lot of people are.
Oh, yeah.
And
he was not big time.
No, but you would figure people don't realize it. Like Stephen A. Smith has more people around him than the president does.
Yeah.
Like literally, there's like an entourage of like 20. There's security. There's like 24 people, and he's in the middle of it.
You're talking about a guy who was filmed entering an arena during an NBA game. Remember that?
Well, he eats that stuff up, obviously. But listen, it's a fun game here. Like you said, McAfee, the show just keeps on getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
Look, I used to be on like every 2 months type thing.
Mm-hmm.
like 3-4 times a year.
Yeah.
I think I was their fallback guy. Hey, somebody cancel last second. Let's call Morency. Because, I used to get messages at like 7, 8 in the morning. Hey, can you come on today? And sometimes I would miss them, and I'd be pretty upset. I'd be like, damn, I could have been on the McAfee show today on ESPN. I didn't wake up on time. I didn't see the message. So I'm not on 3-4 times a year anymore. I got my Super Bowl spot here at the end, but what can I do? He's got Aaron Rodgers on, right? He's got Nick Saban on. What are you going to do?
Tough to compete. Bill Belichick too, right?
Yeah, great regulars.
Yeah, it's kind of funny, but man, like you said, he has become so huge, and man, talk about a star. I think the thing is, the fans, they just relate to him, right? That's like the big thing. Hey, let's talk a little bit about the Sports Grid. What do you guys got going on this week?
A lot of stuff. We become regulars here over the years. The Grid's doing a great job. We've got some really cool guests lined up throughout the week. Ryan Leaf, Emmett Smith, Thurman Thomas. I could go. We've got some really, really cool Hall of Famers coming on the show this week, and obviously we'll be breaking it down from a betting perspective all week long as well.
All right. We are, of course, joined by Gabriel Morency with the Sports Grid on Sirius. Tell me, and you don't have to tell me like the best lock of the week, or pardon me, the lock of the week or the best bet, but what are some of the things, if you're a bettor looking at this game, what are some of the things where you're going to find value at? Is it prop bets? Value. Where are you going to find the value?
Value is not a word you're going to find right now.
Yeah.
Leading into the Super Bowl right now, number one, all the props have been out since last Sunday. So the professional bettors have already attacked the numbers. So it's, I guess the best analogy is like if you're playing props right now, it's basically like you're shopping for a Christmas gift on December 24th. Right?
Hey, I'm used to that.
Yeah, but you're not getting the best deal. You know what I'm saying? You're not getting the deal. The deal was, a month ago, right? Or the Black Friday or whatnot. A good example is like Dallas Goedert. Okay, so the Kansas City Chiefs, we all know, the Chiefs struggle against tight ends. Except, struggle against tight ends is a loose term. It's the way their defense is built, right? To funnel everything in the middle. So they'll give up chunks to tight ends. The Buffalo Bills, for whatever reason, last week did not take advantage of it. Other teams did. We saw Dalton Schultz lit them up with the Houston Texans a couple of weeks ago. Dallas Goedert, I really liked him last week against Washington because I thought that Washington were going to sell out so much and try to stop Saquon that it would open up the middle of the field and Dallas Goedert would have a big game. He did. So I'm looking at the same thing, but a good example is, guys, Dallas Goedert opened up at 46.5 receiving yards. It's 53.5 right now. It's a big difference.
Yeah.
That's like a full catch, maybe 2 catches. Yep. That's a 47 and 54 to win your bet is a big difference. So that's what I'm talking about when I'm saying, we kind of lost out on the quote-unquote value. It sounds crazy to say, I'm not going to say there's value on the player that's on a player like Saquon Barkley, that's such a big name and the star of the team, but his rushing yard prop is 112.5, which sounds kind of crazy, but it really isn't when you think about it for Saquon Barkley. We're talking about someone who can get to 160, 170. Yep. They're going to give him the ball 25 times. He's going to touch the ball a lot, right? And he's also that type of player that he always breaks one. Right, he's very Barry Sanders-like. Remember Barry Sanders? Yeah. People talk about Barry Sanders like he never got tackled before in his life, but he did. Oftentimes, Barry Sanders would have 7 carries for 26 yards, and it's like, man, he keeps on getting stuffed. It's like, yeah, just wait for it. And then, boom, there it goes. That's what, Saquon's giving you 4, 5, 6 out of time, 7, these 7, 8-yard chunks. But then he's mixing in these 40-yard runs and these 55-yard runs.
70.
Yeah, so I think the 112 is, the 112 really isn't that crazy. For value, though, I will tell your audience this, guys, and this somewhat surprised me. The first touchdown score prop of the game has become a very popular prop for people. We do it on our shows all the time, Monday Night Football, Sunday Night Football. People love betting the first touchdown score of the game. And Saquon Barkley's the favorite at plus 450. Then you have Jalen Hurts right there at plus 500. Not a bad number for these two. Then you get into the Kansas City Chiefs numbers. And it's rare that you have a team that's favored. Normally the team that's favored, their players are going to have lower odds to score the touchdown because they're supposed to score more because they're the favorite team. Mm-hmm. The lowest number you're going to get with a Kansas City Chief player is plus 800 with Kareem Hunt. That is value. Like, to me, that is a value pick right there. Kareem Hunt has overtaken. Pacheco doesn't really touch the ball that much. Mahomes isn't a big QB sneak sort of scramble guy. I think there's a legitimate chance that Kareem Hunt does get the first touchdown of this game, and it's plus 800. Running backs generally do get the first touchdowns of the game for the most part. And you're getting plus 800, man. Xavier Worthy is 10-1. 10-1. That's a big-time number, man. I mean, that's double what you're getting for Jalen Hurts or Saquon. So if you think the Kansas City Chiefs are going to score first, and for the record, when they played a couple of years ago, the Eagles did score first. And I gave the prop, actually, out that the Eagles would score first and KC would win the game. Although I feel that Philadelphia are going to win the game this year. That's the big difference.
You like Philly?
Yeah. I was on Kansas City in the last Super Bowl when they played a couple of years ago. But I think, and listen, I should note that I was on San Francisco last year, so maybe I'm doing this out of spite. And I am a Buffalo Bill fan. I don't like the Kansas City Chiefs very much, but it's nothing personal. I think the Philadelphia Eagles defense can do enough to bother Mahomes. The Buffalo Bills last week didn't get any pressure. They just did not get any pressure on Patrick Mahomes. The Eagles can. I think the Eagles' defense is better than the Buffalo Bills' defense is. I think they match up well. You know, to me, it comes down to Jalen Hurts. Can Jalen Hurts make enough plays to win this football game?
Yeah, because if they try to take away Barkley, now you're going to make some plays in the passing game with Brown and company.
Yeah. And the Chiefs play a lot of man-to-man coverage. It's what Spagnuolo likes to do. That's an opportunity for A.J. Brown here. And I do think A.J. Brown's pop's like 69.5 or so. I think he's going to go over as well.
Do you know the one thing, though, about this game? Like, I look at it, and you're right. Philadelphia, to me, is the team to beat when I look at it on paper. But there's two things that come into play. Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo. They just put their guys in a position to win. And you know if it's going to be a close game, Mahomes will take it over, and they'll probably wind up winning it. So it's a real dilemma because you know what this game is? This game is kind of like you have that feeling between what you know in your mind, like your gut, or pardon me, what you know in your gut, that gut feeling, versus the data and the evidence of, thinking with your mind. It's almost like you're thinking with your heart if you're picking the Chiefs, and you're thinking with your mind. Yeah. I don't want to say mind, but it's that gut feeling, right? Whereas with Philadelphia, you've got all this data that backs up that pick, and with Kansas City, it's more of that, just that intuition. 17
consecutive one-score victories.
Well, and what's Mahomes' record in the playoffs? Down by double digits.
I mean, this is...
It's like, 5-2 or something?
And as you mentioned, you get into Andy Reid getting time to prepare, Andy Reid off a bye week and all that. I kind of think of this, though, when I look at it, Spagnuolo and Fangio, I think the defenses kind of nullify each other out a little bit. One of them the Eagles give up 17 points a game, the Chiefs give up 19 points. There's not much difference to separate between their defenses. So now we get into the offense. And Patrick Mahomes, we know this. But will Sirianni and company, will they be able to – because I thought Buffalo got out-tricked for the most part, out-coached, right? It wasn't just like, Kansas City made a play. It was like, no, there's not a white jersey within 10 yards of this, we didn't see that coming, right? Andy Reid got the better of McDermott last week.
The thing I look at that game, Gabe, was the fact that when the game was on the line or they needed a big play, it's just like you said, they got Mahomes on the edge. There wasn't anybody around him some of those times.
Yeah.
And with Allen, they never allowed that, that to become a factor. They just kind of kept them in the pocket. There's never a situation where they were forced to make a play, right? And with Mahomes, he'd roll out and what are we going to do now? Are we going to come up for the run, or is he going to dump it off? They gave him options off those plays. They'd move his launch point, and they never did that with Josh Allen. And that to me was probably the difference in the game. That was coaching.
I don't understand what happened with Joe Brady in that game, because Joe Brady has done a great job since he's taken over as the offensive as the coordinator, play caller for the Bills. Was not his best day, but that's the Kansas City Chiefs that we talked about.
Yep.
Shoulda, coulda, woulda. Only if we would have done this, that, and that's the thing with the Chiefs too. They don't beat you with one big play. It's not like, two big plays, or, we have to watch out for this player. It's a culminate, you know what I mean? It accumulates.
Death by 1,000 cuts.
It really is. Yeah. Over the middle, to Kelsey, little dump off to Gray. There's DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah.
There's Xavier Worthy. Right? They have so many different players. It's a real challenge to shut them down.
All right, Gabe, if people want to catch you, how do they go about it?
You can follow us on Twitter, X, at SportsGrid. We're always posting our links. We're on SiriusXM channel 159. And just go to sportsgrid.com/where to watch as well. We're everywhere.
Awesome. Great. Gabe Morency, thanks for stopping by. Have some fun.
Hey, great stuff, guys.